So you seek a prophecy. And what would you have me do? Foretell the downfall of an evil empire? Or whisper of the rise of a chosen one? True, I could tell you such a pleasing fairy tale. But visions can be delightfully tricksome things, and sometimes the way one interprets, or misinterprets, a prophecy can lead to their own destruction. And even if the vision happily comes to pass without mischief or misfortune, then that may still leave the niggling doubt that the hero's actions were not those of a champion forging her own destiny, but rather those of a puppet limply dancing upon the strings of fate. But come, I will let you be the judge, and lay before you the many marvelous possibilities presented by prophecy. Greetings, good storytellers. I am the Artful Narrator, and it is my privilege to welcome you to learning the tropes of writing. Now, from a narrative standpoint, a prophecy can be an immensely valuable thing. For, on one hand, it can be an efficient way to quickly elevate an otherwise ordinary and unassuming main character into a realm of adventure and intrigue. And, on the other hand, it can provide a strong focus for the plot, elegantly directing the flow of the narrative and providing motivations for the hero and villain alike.
Woo! Nothing's gonna stop me now!
Wait, there was a prophecy.
Oh, now there's a prophecy.
About the piece of resistance.
Oh, yes. The supposed missing piece of resistance that can somehow magically disarm the Craggle. Give me a break.
And whether these portents of future events are witnessed in the visions of an oracle, read in the stars by a wise man, or imparted from the very lips of the fates themselves, these variations only represent a fraction of the options at your disposal, for far more impactful possibilities lie in the nuances of the prophecies themselves, as the following examples may attest.
All hail, Macbeth! Thou shalt be king hereafter!
So spoke the weird sisters to Macbeth upon that fateful eve. And thus commences William Shakespeare's legendary work, Macbeth. For, slowly, these simple words begin to entangle the titular Macbeth in a web of destiny, his passions turning from loyalty to Duncan to treachery and regicide. It is a story that exemplifies the concept of a self-fulfilling prophecy, for although the weird sisters warned him, "Beware Macduff," in truth, Macbeth would have had naught to fear from him, had Macbeth not prematurely moved against Macduff in an attempt to avoid his own foretold fate. The use of such themes present a fascinating narrative situation where the protagonist finds himself wrestling not with a physical foe, but with fate itself. This struggle posing questions as to the nature of destiny and one's ability to either escape it or to unknowingly bring it to fruition.
The amulet!
You recognize it?
I know this will sound silly, but I've seen it before, in a dream.
Cross of silver, ray of light, in Ender's hand will end the night.
These are the words that were imparted to Veronica Lodge, along with the Sunstone, an amulet that held the power to end the vampire's long foretold eternal night. This three-part spectacular from the beautifully bizarre Archie's Weird Mysteries TV series presents us with the prophecy of a chosen one, known as the Ender.
This must be the book Beaumont was reading before he left. The one with all the spooky prophecies. Raven and red upon their heads, destiny awakens. One girl is the Ender while another is mistaken.
Here, through the ambiguity of this verse, the identity of this so-called Ender is left an uncertainty until the very end of the tale, which is to the benefit of the plot. For far too often in narrative, the vagaries of destiny and visions are presented as certainties, and yet the very nature of prophecies leave them open to many interpretations, as any signifying circumstances that might point to one individual as a destined hero could just as easily indicate another person when viewed from a different perspective. Such confusion and mystery are valuable components in adding intrigue to a narrative and introducing a subtle spin on the now well-established concept of a chosen one that is a staple of sci-fi and fantasy.
It is told, though Allah be wiser or more merciful, there was in the past of the ages a king among kings, a master of arms and of armies, of vessels and auxiliaries. And this master of time and people was an oppressor to both, and the earth was as pitch in the faces of his subjects and his slaves.
Such is the idle tale whispered among the downtrodden people of Baghdad in the exotic 1940 masterpiece, The Thief of Baghdad. Here, the true role of this prophecy is beautifully disguised within the narrative, for when it is first heard, it is used merely as a means to show the naive Sultan Ahmed that his people view him as a cruel tyrant. However, as the plot unfolds, we come to see that the prophecy in fact speaks of Abu and predicts his valiant return to save his friends from the evil Jaffa.
They groaned together in secret and were slain in the marketplace. But a wise man among the sages of Baghdad comforted them with a prophecy, saying, in the fullness of years a liberator shall come upon him, and this shall be the sign of him. He shall be the lowest of the low, and you shall look for him in the clouds.
Now what I love about this version of a prophecy is that unlike the other examples, the main protagonist is not motivated by the prophecy. For while the words of the prophecy are known to the audience and several of the other characters in the narrative, Abu is ignorant of the parallels between the seer's words and his own deeds, meaning that the narrative does not rely on the prophecy as a crutch to influence the character's actions, but rather uses it as a device to give a sense of destiny and weight to the proceedings, thus granting Abu great agency within the narrative, and rendering any act of heroism on his part as a pure expression of his courage and ingenuity.
And the people cried, we shall look for him in the clouds indeed, for if the greater power is to save us from this tyrant, how can one have no account of it? The reader of the Milky Way replied, have faith, trust in Allah, for there one day in the blue you shall see a boy, the lowest of the low, mounted on a cloud. And that cloud shall be as strong as the hills beneath the snow, and from the ranges of the sky he shall destroy this tyrant with the arrow of justice.
So, you've seen here 3 rather eclectic instances of prophecy within narrative, blending themes of fate and free will, all of which can create powerful conflicts and questions. So, will knowledge of some foretold event grant your characters the power to influence the outcome for the better? Or will it instead doom them to bring those tragic events into being through their own efforts to avert them? Will their conclusions about their own grand role in destiny be true, or turn out to have been just vanity?
It is as the prophecy foretold. Now screw the prophecy.
Whatever your decision, you have a wealth of possibilities from which to choose. But, in parting, I will leave you with one more thought. For, as an excellent line from a passable movie once put it, here's the thing about the future. Every time you look at it, it changes because you looked at it. And that changes everything else. Thank you very much for watching Good Storytellers. I hope that this video has been informative, or at the very least, a pleasant diversion. Until next time.